What's up, guys? Super pumped for this episode of Living in the Denver Suburbs. Today, we're going to talk about my 4 favorite spots to go when maybe I don't want to go downtown, but I'd like to get a little bit of an urban feel, get out for the evening and enjoy some spirits or, a nice dinner and maybe have a little less stress around parking. We'll touch on that, as we go through, but I'm super excited to discuss these 4 spots that you can definitely enjoy around the Denver suburbs. What's up, guys? I'm Jeremy Kane, living in the Denver suburbs. Today, I am pumped to come up with these 4 spots that you can maybe try, give you my highlights, some lowlights, and of course, my favorite ice cream shop. But as always, please like, comment, subscribe. Please share this with anybody who you might know who might enjoy some of these new spots if you're looking for something different than the downtown scene. As we know, there's some interesting stuff going on down there. So some of these suburban, urban kind of spots are huge. So let's kind of get right into it. We're going to start with downtown Littleton, just off of Santa Fe and Bowles there. A kind of quaint little town. The vibe is, a suburbanite pretend downtown. The nightlife is not the best, if I could say so myself. You have the bookend, which is the melting pot, the fondue that everyone obviously has probably tried, kind of the original fondue spot in the Denver metro area. Super old building, a lot of history in there. But then you have different spots like, the rooftop at View House and the tavern and all kinds of different restaurants in there. There are some shops mixed in. There's some old pubs that are really cool to check out. Parking in the area is pretty good. You might have to park a street over or whatnot, but 2 one-way streets kind of go back and forth with some side streets, absolutely for sure. One thing about downtown Littleton, a little bit on the outskirts, but right there in the kind of area is that Bacon Social has one of the best, or the best rooftop brunch spot, I think, in the city. So make sure you check that out. And when you're looking for the best ice cream shop, it's got to be the Nook. Coffee and ice cream, cool little kind of homemade ice cream shop. Also has all the coffee options, unlike some of the other ice cream spots we're going to mention below. But that's downtown Littleton. Great spot. Again, not an amazing nightlife. Parking, I give it a B. So it's pretty accessible, and definitely a ton of restaurants and shops and just, the heart of the actual city of Littleton. So that's that one. Moving on, we're going to talk about Arvada. Downtown Arvada, the light rail does run right through that. So if you want to get out of town as soon as possible, you can definitely take that. Arvada has, an okay parking scene for sure, but not great. I would say it's third on the list of 4 here. As far as good parking options, second only to Castle Rock as being the very worst. So we'll get to Castle Rock in a second. But downtown Arvada is, the vibe's kind of a hipster getaway, in my opinion. Every, bar and restaurant I've been in is super unique. There is, the Smokin' Fins sushi place that's there. But other than that, it's very, individualistic. Fuzzy's Tacos is obviously a staple in the area. Lady Nomada is a good little Mexican restaurant for sure. The nightlife, honestly, I can't tell you. I've never been down there. I don't think it's super wild and crazy. There are a ton of coffee shops and things, kind of in that downtown Arvada area. Parking, like I said, is annoying, and second only to Castle Rock. The can't miss ice cream shop is scrumptious, right there in, downtown or Old Town Arvada. I always call these places Old Town because they're kind of characterized by those old brick buildings, but I'm not sure if Arvada has captured that Old Town feel, but I think that I have seen Old Town. Yeah, that's Arvada. Kind of a cool little spot. Like I said, the hipster getaway. Sorry if that offends anyone, but that's just kind of how it feels. Like there's not a lot of trendy stuff. Everything is very, unique, and every different bar and restaurant and all that kind of has, weird little quirks to it, which is why I say that. So next we're gonna roll on to near and dear to my heart, Old Town Fort Collins. That is, the vibe is kind of classy restaurant by day, making way to college party town at night. So if you're not in for a party, get out of the way before 8 or 9 o'clock, because the college kids are coming and it's a party for sure. You gotta hit up Lucky Joe's when you're there, kind of the old town staple. Peanuts on the floor, drink some Irish whiskey or some car bombs in there. I think as far as food goes, you're gonna love Sonny Lubbock's Steakhouse, and you always have to start the night at the Rio with their classic margaritas, limit 2 or 3. I'm not sure if they've made them less spicy, so to speak, or they've lifted that limit. I haven't been there in a while, but the Rio is always a great spot. Obviously Mexican food kind of in the area. One thing about Old Town Fort Collins is just across the tracks there is New Belgium, and then a little bit further away is Odell's Brewing. But don't miss my very favorite, where my good friend Luke Margheim works, is Horse and Dragon. Definitely try out that Sad Panda on tap if you are in for the little bit trip a little bit further to the north and east of Old Town Fort Collins. And that's kind of that. Parking's pretty decent down there, but like I said, it does get a little wild as the college kids kind of wake up for the evening and are out there. If you're gonna look for ice cream, make sure you hit up Walrus Ice Cream in Fort Collins. Again, we're not looking for these big chains. We're more, the mom and pop homemade ice cream spots. I doubt any of them have actually homemade ice cream, but you get my vibe there. All right, let's go next and finish it off with Castle Rock. They call this area the River Walk. There is a little river that kind of runs through there. The vibe is, it's just kind of a restaurant kind of area. There is some activities that they try and kind of bring the families together in the downtown area. They do have the River Walk. So I would call the vibe, classic family with a little bit of entertainment and that kind of stuff there. So Castle Rock, of course, the most annoying place on the list to find a parking spot. Really small parking lots, kind of shoved in weird spots. There is a parking garage. It's extremely tiny. I drive a truck, so maybe I'm a little bit, maybe I just had a bad day there, but I do not love the parking in that area. So I guess let's kind of dial in the vibe a little bit. I would say grab a bite happening in the afternoons into early evening, and it kind of fades off as it is more geared towards families. Definitely check out the Great Divide Brewery and Roadhouse. Great food there. Obviously they have the Great Divide beers on tap. Pretty big place, so you're gonna get a seat pretty quickly. Kind of a big bar area there as well. Of course, if you're feeling a bit bad about your production, they have the office and the library, which are both bars. So you could say you're at the office or the library and have a cocktail while you're there. Okay, and to finish us off is Glacier Ice Cream and Gelato. I have actually been to this spot, but I have not eaten there. I had to watch my children eat the ice cream, and my friends and my wife, because I was on 75 hard and there's no cheat meals on 75 hard. So that's kind of that. Castle Rock has really revitalized kind of this area, really looking to get that, kind of downtown urban feel, and, all kinds of cool restaurants and things in the area. And of course, Castle Rock, if you want to take a hike right out of town, you can hike up to the famous Castle Rock, hence the name of the town. It's not too far there from the downtown area. So if you're in the mood for a little urban density, but you don't necessarily want to, deal with the hassle of getting downtown and managing the parking and, dealing with some of the things that are going on down there, there are definitely options. All kind of around town. Obviously Fort Collins is a little further, but the rest of these are about 30, 15 to 45 minutes. I guess Castle Rock's kind of the bookend of Fort Collins. But downtown Littleton and Old Town Arvada, 15 minute ride. Actually, both Littleton and Arvada have the light rail rolling right through them. So you can access, other places if you want, or get there safely if you're gonna going to ride the light rail for the evening. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please like, comment, subscribe. And if you have any questions or comments, definitely, if you've been to a place that you absolutely love in any of these areas, please comment below. I'd be happy to kind of make this a living, breathing document so that people that are watching can check out all the spots that we all love. So I hope you guys have a great night. Please like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.